Darkcast Network. The light shines brightest on our indie podcasts.
Welcome to Creepy Tapas,
where we do the opposite of deep dives and bring you tiny tastes of terror connected by a common ingredient.
True stories to haunt and chill you and the pop culture they inspired.
Or at least the movies and books that remind us of them.
Join us as we descend into darkness,
beginning with the lighter side of our weekly topic,
and wrapping with a full dark, no stars account of terror, madness, murder, and more. It's Creepy Tapas, y'all.
Greetings, ghoul fiends.
Oh, greetings.
And welcome to another episode of Creepy Tapas, wherein we will dump our mind vomit into your ears via podcast. We are here today to discuss cannibalism.
Yummy.
I'm your host, Ash.
And I'm Jordan.
Did I sound professional?
Kind of sounded robotic.
Did I? Man. What truths lie beyond the imagination in a world where reality is often more haunting than fiction? Come along, ghoul fiends, as we descend into darkness on today's episode of Creepy Tapas. I need to make a correction about something that I said last week that was not entirely accurate.
What?
About Damien Leone. I said that he was going to try to out edgelord himself. I thought an edgelord was a good thing. I thought it was a compliment. I thought that it was cool to be an edgelord because it sounds cool, doesn't it?
I mean, it sounds edgy.
Love it so much. So
okay, but it's not a good thing?
It's not a good thing. No, it's an insult. I did not mean to insult you, Damien Leone. If you happen to hear this, I didn't mean it. Turkey apocalypse. Turkey apocalypse.
Okay, yay.
It's coming soon to a dining room near you. Likely served with a side of relatives stressing over nothing, the legion of comatose dads watching football, and the annual Stitch and Bitch hosted by the matrons of the home.
Stitch and Bitch. Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know how it'd be like. They're going to sit there and complain about everybody who ain't in the room.
Oh, that's funny. No, we just sit around and look at the sales papers. Like, where are we going Black Friday shopping today?
Planning out the next morning.
That shit starts at midnight.
Oh, yeah?
You don't even have to wait.
Damn.
Midnight.
Man, I've been sleeping on some Black Friday. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, I don't do it anymore.
Have you ever gone and beat the crowds? To some awesome deals.
I didn't beat any crowds. I was there in the crowd. Sitting in traffic, fighting to get in stores, waiting in 30-minute long lines to buy something.
Gross, man.
It is gross. It's real dumb. That's why I stopped doing it.
What did you get?
Christmas presents. Honestly, a lot of the time I just bought shit for myself. I was like, ew, I like these boots. I don't know what somebody else wants, but I want these.
I'll take them, thanks.
They're 40% off. I kind of have to.
It's costing me money
not to have these boots. Yeah, see, so Black Friday shopping was never really fiscally responsible for me.
Yeah.
Is that a good way of putting it?
I actually, in an effort to be fiscally responsible this year, I've actually carded everyone's Christmas gifts on Amazon. I know, Amazon, but whatever, dude. I'm waiting for the Black Friday sale because the
Cyber Monday.
The Cyber Mondays and shit. I'm gonna open up my shopping cart and all that shit's gonna be half price.
Maybe not. Because they only have certain things that are on special.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It's not like everything goes on sale. It's just they have particular deals. And there's a lot of them. So, chances are you're going to get something that's lumped in there. But
so, yeah, speaking of Thanksgiving, my brother, I know I mentioned it last week, but he is in the Army. He just wrapped up AIT. He's going to be a diesel mechanic. And before he gets shipped off and away to exotic North Carolina.
Exotic North Carolina.
I'm very excited to hug his big smelly face and celebrate his Black Friday wedding, which again, I'm kind of mad he's getting married on Black Friday because it's so fucking metal and they're not metalheads. That's such a metal day to get married. Black Friday.
Yeah, but Black Friday is not metal at all. It's fucking capitalism at its finest.
But it sounds cool.
Oh.
Brandon, if you're listening to this, you need to start listening to Slayer or something. I don't know.
That can be your wedding song.
Yeah, there's still time.
There is time. You could change it.
You could have a successful wedding and walk down the aisle to some heavy metal.
Nice.
There's still time to save this thing. Today, we are going to talk about those yummy, tasty people.
Tasty people.
People who be eating people.
People who be eating people.
Have you ever wondered, as you're chewing the skin around your nails, am I a cannibal?
I have thought that multiple times, yes.
Yeah.
I have. Like, well, I just chew on my finger skin all the time. I don't necessarily swallow it. I guess sometimes it happens.
I swallow it.
Sometimes.
It's not something I think about, but I don't spit it out either.
No, normally I like
So
across the room. You know.
So if you're ever hanging around Jordan and you see her going,
I'm just spitting out my finger skin.
Just shooting flesh like a fucking lawn sprinkler.
Don't mind me.
No, I do know what you mean. When I'm on a long drive, I find myself doing that, and like I'll find like my fingernails and shit. It's really gross. But this entire episode is pretty gross. So are we oversharing? I don't know. We're about to talk about people who eat each other. So
okay,
yeah, auto cannibalism is what that's called.
Turns out we are cannibals.
It turns out we are. That's really gross and weird. But
we're not the gross cannibals, though.
So yes, there are different types actually, and that was a really interesting thing that I discovered while researching this episode, because I always thought that just like, I don't know, eating people. I didn't realize that there was like this whole thing. The scientific word for people eating on each other is anthropophagy. I'm sure it comes as a surprise to no one that it has been going on since the dawn of time. Anthropologists have classified the different ways in which it shows up through history based on two categories: learned cannibalism, called customary anthropophagy, and survival cannibalism, which is to me the more horrifying of the two by far.
What, the survivor one?
Fuck yeah.
I mean, if you like were in a plane crash and a bunch of people died around you and your only option was to eat somebody, that's what that... Like, it's not more horrifying. That's like the more understandable one.
Sure. But to me, it's not about, like, would I have any qualms with eating another person? I mean, I don't know. Probably not if it was about my survival and they were dead anyway. But to me, it's about the surrounding circumstances.
You have no other choice but to eat a person.
Yeah. It's not like you have fucking protagonist powers where, like, you know everything's going to be okay and that you're going to survive. What horribleness are you existing in?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
That would suck, man. That's one of my worst fears. I travel for work a lot. I'm always like, fuck, man, please don't I really hope this plane don't crash. Like,
I have to take a Xanax to go on an airplane.
It's rough, man. It's rough.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't like actually full on panicked in an airplane, but I have to calm myself down. And I'm like, okay, I'm so ready for this to be over. Can we just be going down now?
It just doesn't feel like we're supposed to be up this high.
Can we go down? I don't like it up here.
Yeah, no. That's why usually if it's a job that I can drive to, I would much rather just be on the interstate.
Stressing out for a couple hours in the air is way better than driving 10 hours with a 7-year-old.
That is a fair point. Yeah, that is a fair point.
He ain't afraid of flying, so it's just me freaking out.
According to a study published in June 2019 in the Journal of Human Evolution,
900,000 years ago, an ancient relative of humans, the Homo antecessor, ate people on the regular, simply because it was the most readily available meat.
Their paws were full of vitamins and good for you. So chew on your friends. Humans were full of vitamins and easy enough to catch and kill, so they became a frequent menu option.
Gross.
I mean, we didn't really have a society giving us morals and, guilt for doing this kind of shit. It was just kind of like, if easy prey was easy prey, you would take it. You're just trying to survive. So it's just, it was like a daily thing of life for pre-Homo sapiens.
Just eating people. Mm-hmm. Well, were they people if they weren't actually Homo sapiens?
They were close. In fact, until modern times, the practice of cannibalism has stayed in vogue as an effective and economical way to keep in shape and stay healthy.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, yeah. Just to eat your neighbor.
What? They're encouraging that?
It's free. I'm encouraging it. No, I'm just kidding.
It's free.
Jonathan Swift was encouraging it. He wrote a bit of satire, a modest proposal about eating babies.
We had to read that in college, and me and my friend Jared had no idea what we were about to get ourselves into. And we read that, and I called him, and I was like, holy fuck, pal, did you read that? They're like going into detail about how you should have babies and sell them for food because it's financially responsible and feeding people, and went into like recipes and the best way to cook them and like the different parts of the babies being cooked different ways. And oh my God, we were blown away. It was an interesting read, though. I mean, it was really funny after the fact, but when we were reading it, we were like, holy fuck, like, is he serious? Had no idea what we were about. It was just something that we were assigned to read.
That's so crazy. Yeah, well, if there's a context there, it was a bit of political satire where he was, just offering a solution to economic crisis and food
fucking pop out
shortages.
babies.
Yeah, why not?
Eat them.
Have babies.
They're
Eat them.
delicious.
They're lovely.
Have some rump roasts.
But our closer and more recent relatives, the Neanderthals, were also cannibals. Recently, in a Belgium cave, tools made of human bones and skulls were discovered. Endo-cannibalism is the consumption of a member of your own family.
What?
Yeah. It's an expression of respect and grief for the deceased, and most believe by consuming a loved one, something can be attained from their spirit, like wisdom or patience.
It's gross.
There's a tribe in the Amazon, the Wari, and they practice endo-cannibalism as a way to transform their ancestors into spirits during funeral rites, as well as a way to express their own grief. So they go through this process of getting rid of anything in the physical world that reminds them of the deceased. This person died, so, we're gonna get rid of everything that they owned in the physical world, and we're also going to eat their physical form. We're going to consume them, and then they'll not, exist. But in some areas where fellow humans were looked at like sirloin steaks, sometimes the consumption of enemies was used as a way to celebrate. So if you laid siege to someone else's home, you would chow down on their family and have a few beers afterwards, Occasionally, it would also have the extra perk of absorbing their power. So if someone was particularly strong and they were killed in a battle, maybe your strongest warrior could eat their strongest warrior, and then bam, he gets like plus 10 in strength,
Yeah. I mean, that sounds accurate.
It's basically what happens.
I don't know why we're not still doing that.
You could also use organs in certain witchcraft and sorcery.
Yeah.
Yeah. According to history.com.
Although the Aztecs are well known for having performed ritual human sacrifices, there is no evidence to suggest they actually practiced cannibalism.
They get sort of falsely accused of it frequently. Some experts suggest cannibalism in the Aztec community was a function of famine, or their way of communicating with the gods. I feel like sometimes anthropology sounds like they're seeing if pasta's cooked, they just fucking fling it at the wall.
Who flings pasta at the wall?
Wait, are you serious? You've never flung pasta at a wall to see if it was done before?
Fucking Southern women don't do that shit.
Well,
fucking Northern women got a bunch of pasta stuck to their fucking walls.
I'm telling you what, it's those Italians teaching.
Oh, the Italians do that, huh?
There you go. That's where
just
I learned
throwing
it
at the wall. They're probably just pissed off.
God damn it.
They got tempers.
Making this fucking spaghetti again.
I'll chuck it at the wall. Fuck y'all. No, is that how you're supposed to figure out if it's done?
I don't know if you're supposed to, but it's a fantastic way.
I mean, does it stick if it's done?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking weird. No, I mean, do you have pasta streaks down your wall?
No, you clean your wall.
Oh, you just
really,
wipe it off with a paper
doesn't
towel?
leave like a snail trail or anything.
Ew, gross.
Unless you overcooked it and it doesn't.
I have
leave.
never done that. Well,
Really?
I feel like I have a pretty efficient way of doing it also.
How
What
do
you
you
do is
find
you
out?
take a noodle out of the pot and you bite it. And if it's the right texture, it's done.
I feel like you should just throw pasta at the wall.
I have never even heard of that.
But I was just making an analogy that anthropology sort of feels like throwing shit at a wall to see if it sticks.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
I guess I could have just said that. I for once was trying to be less crass. Can you believe it, everybody? I was trying.
and I started going on about pasta.
I tried so hard. And this is why I always resort to poop. Because at least everyone knows I'm just making an analogy.
It's just poop.
But anyway, going back to cannibalism.
Oh, yeah.
We have as a society stigmatized this idea of eating other folk.
No, it's not cool.
It's just not what you do.
You probably shouldn't.
But the thing about survival cannibalism is that it happens way more than we would like to admit. We're going to talk more about that later in this episode. Let's talk about learned cannibalism, shall we? Exo-cannibalism is more in line with the image we have in our neck of the woods. There's nothing here about funeral rites or respecting the dead. It's purely to either scare someone else, steal someone's life force, or just get some nutrition because y'all's hungry.
Because y'all hungry.
You know, there were a few remote cultures in Papua New Guinea that were known to kill and consume humans, but they gave it up for several decades. Progress will get you everywhere, man.
Sure will.
In 2011, Piers Gibbon visited the Biami people in Papua New Guinea. They're known for their long and more recent histories of eating people. Gibbon reported they were
very happy to talk about it.
An elder told him about how tribe members had
killed 2 women who were rumored to have spoken ill of a dying husband. They then roasted the women over the fire pit like pigs and cut up their flesh to eat it.
As you can imagine, consuming humans does not go without consequence. The Foray people, another tribe in Papua New Guinea, had a devastating brain disease go full-blown epidemic, nearly wiping out the entire tribe. The cause? A fatal brain disease called kuru that was spread through eating another human's contaminated brain tissue.
Gross.
Although it was devastating, not everyone died. And since the human body is fucking incredible, some people developed, carry, and pass on a gene that protects them against kuru and other similar prion diseases such as mad cow. Now, this is a really positive thing for medicine. Weirdly, because researchers can take what they're learning from the Foray people's genetic mutation to learn how to prevent kuru and other prion diseases such as Alzheimer's, ALS, and Parkinson's. So, point for cannibalism there.
Well,
Actually,
shit.
kind of did some good.
Well, there we are.
Worked out. Speaking of medical advancement, let's take it back to the 18th century where those incredibly bloodthirsty Europeans were hanging out. At this time, they would look to flesh from cadavers for medical consumption. And we touched on this a tiny bit when we covered vampires, and we discussed the blending of relatives' remains into like smoothies to prevent suspected vampirism and possession. But according to Smithsonian,
Paracelsus, the 16th century physician, believed blood was healthy to drink. Although drinking fresh blood was uncommon, people unable to afford apothecary products would stand by at executions and pay a small fee for a cup of blood from the condemned.
it's murderabilia.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, see? People have been obsessed with this shit so
Let me get some of that blood.
long. Can I get that blood?
Let me get that blood. Back to the vampires.
It really is though. Like everything always goes back to poop and vampires. Yeah, people have been obsessed with the shit forever.
What, poop and vampires?
Absolutely. And can you imagine like hanging out at an execution with some money? Like, oh, mommy gave me 5 pence so I could buy some blood.
No, I can't really imagine that.
Blood of the condemned, buy your condemned blood.
Bring out your dead.
2 per ounce. I guess not ounce. What are they?
Liters?
Maybe.
Is that the same?
No, I
What's
don't.
the metric system? I don't fucking know. We don't use that. I'm from America.
Why don't you know this?
Where they
Jordan?
only teach us the things that they think we need to know, so we don't know everything else.
All we learned was how to please a husband, paint our toenails,
And say the Pledge of Allegiance.
how to drink wine and make a baby, suck a penis,
I didn't learn that at school.
wrap a Christmas gift. You didn't learn that in home ec?
No, we made these really ugly pillows in home ec and made like scrambled eggs. They had really low expectations for us.
So anyway, gosh, back to cannibalism. Most tribes have modernized a tad, at least in the way of not practicing cannibalism anymore, or at least they say they don't. Dun dun dun.
Bum, bum, bum.
The Agoras are a small extremist group in Varanasi, India, who worship the Hindu deity Shiva. They engage in many obscure practices like meditation on top of corpses.
I kind of like that.
Making bowls of human skulls, and practicing ritual cannibalism. So, they got...
I mean, maybe without the ritual cannibalism. Like, I could meditate on somebody's grave. Maybe not, like, on a corpse. I don't know that I want to sit on a dead person.
Well, that's what you would be doing here. You would literally be meditating on a corpse.
But I have skull decorations all over my house.
Sure, but they're not real. Like, they're not the skulls of your enemies.
But they could be.
They could be.
Maybe I
It's
just
pretty
got
gangsta.
the skulls of my enemies and then painted them so they would just look like
That's
decorations
true.
and then nobody would even know.
Oh, shit. And then you give them out as presents. I think I just invented a serial killer that gives away the body parts to people as like other things.
Well, if you did sculpture and welding and all kinds, you could make them into this like crazy elaborate statue.
I'm going to have to cut this so nobody takes our idea. It's a really good idea. I've never seen it before. Anyway, the Agoras, they still do it. They still practice cannibalism. So,
Okay.
yeah. But they're extremists. So it's not, something that everybody does. Like most tribes have modernized. This is an extremist
they still?
group. Yeah.
They still are like making bowls out of human skulls?
Yeah, they're a tiny itty bitty extremist group in India.
Can I buy one from them?
No, they will. They will.
They will kill me.
That is not. Do not go near them.
My skull will be a bowl.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's really no one reason why people eat people. Maybe we're just tasty. Maybe people really are obtaining superpowers via osmosis. Who can say? All I really learned here about myself is that I practice auto-cannibalism and I feel like a little sharp-toothed beastie.
I know, me too. It's weird.
Right?
Auto-cannibalism.
That's right. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get into some books and movies that we love in the cannibal genre. Enjoy this word from our sponsors. They're people who make us sound great.
Yep.
Are you afraid of what lies in the dark? Are you looking to get your spooky bone tickled? Maybe you're just curious about what lies behind the shadows. My name is JD, and I invite you to check out my Through the Veil podcast. We have something that I'm sure will get your spine tingling. We dive into true paranormal cases, possessions, folklore, and sometimes even a little true crime that has some elements that just won't rest. We have new episodes available every Tuesday and are a proud member of the Darkcast Network. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts or by visiting our website at throughtheveilpodcast.com, where we take our episodes even further with extra content that supports our latest episodes. So come visit us, grab a blankie, and turn down the lights, and get ready to catch a glimpse of what lies through the veil.
Hey there, it's Audrey, producer at Spike and Crown Studios. Now's your chance to support a 3D animated horror film and get some awesome rewards in return. Check out spikeandcrown.com and visit our Kickstarter to make a pledge. You'll get our cutest dog, Sancho, the heroic basset hound, in full plush form. He's super cuddly, has a magnet nose, and comes with a real pet collar. Best of all, you can get producer credit, limited edition trading pins, digital collectibles, and much, much more. Check us out at spikeandcrown.com. That's SPIKEANDCROWN. There's a link at the top so you can visit our Kickstarter page, watch the trailer, claim these amazing rewards, and become a horror film producer. Isn't that cool? Once again, it's spikeandcrown.com, and we're live on Kickstarter.
So, Ghoul Fiends, we are back. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome. Man, there's something about these hungry humans making such terrific horror villains. You know, they really do. They're so good. And it fits in the horror genre so well. And I suppose that's why you see it come up so often. You know, zombies, totally different thing. Another episode entirely. But they are essentially based on this fear of humans consuming unwilling humans. That's the whole thing that's the crux of zombies.
Oh, yeah.
You go and you fucking crack someone's head open like a little egg and you eat their brains. Brains, but not your eyes.
No.
Just your brains.
No.
That's it. That and the whole dead walking the earth thing. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool too.
Well, I was going to say that. The fact that they're dead is kind of
Yeah, it's kind of
monstrous.
Yeah. You can also wax poetic and make it a deep and thought-provoking psychological horror if you want, or you can have your gore porn and your shock. Like there's lots of different ways to have cannibalism be a vehicle for discussion on humanity and survival, our primitive or violent nature, our connection to the animal kingdom. You know, I mean, animals, they eat each other with total impunity. Like they don't give a fuck. Like
Lions.
do it. They don't give a fuck. I've seen
hyenas
some.
fucking eat each other.
Oh my God, yeah. Hyenas definitely eat each other. Hyenas don't give a fuck. They just think about their bellies all the time. They're worse than bears. I've seen some pretty creative uses of cannibalism in horror, but I've also seen some really shitty uses of it. So I thought we could go through some of the history of cannibalism in cinema. We've got The Enchanted Kiss, which is a short film in 1917 based on O. Henry's short story of the same title. Although it is not the main plot line, in the story there is an elderly woman who stays youthful and radiant by eating meals created with the flesh of a young maiden every so often. So
like an evil witch.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. I like Disney shit right there.
Disney shit. This was the first representation of cannibalism in the genre. That's why it's worth noting. Through the 1920s and 30s, there was this huge surge of films that dealt with it. One people are most familiar with is Sweeney Todd, which, that was adapted 3 times in 1926, 1928, and 1936. That was years before Christopher Bond made it a play, before Stephen Sondheim would adapt the play into a musical, way before Tim Burton would cast Johnny Depp in the titular role. Sweeney was originally featured in 1846, making human pies and penny dreadfuls. And if you don't know, penny dreadfuls, we're not talking about the TV show. These are pieces of Victorian pop fiction that usually featured multiple short stories. But anyway, back to the movies. Around 1930, the Motion Picture Production Code, also known as the Hays Code, was passed. Now, the Hays Code was basically an early version of standards and practices. So anytime there was going to be any representation of sex, illicit activity, profanity, drugs, there was a specific code all filmmakers had to abide by. Motion pictures had to be, quote,
safe and presentable for the public at large.
Which effectively put a stop to any more cannibalism in film. But just as a quick aside, some of the Hays Code examples included
keeping Catholic family values, no sexually explicit content, good guys win, bad guys lose, always. I know, right? Nothing that could be seen as promoting bad values or perversion, no swearing or saying anything offensive or off color.
Oh, unless it was about people of color.
Well,
then, all bets were off. Eventually, by the mid-1950s, the code was revised, and by the 60s, it was a complete joke that no one really cared about anymore. The thing about it was motion pictures weren't actually protected under free speech until the 50s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it wasn't considered art, and it wasn't protected by the Free Speech Amendment. It was one of those things where, people could totally come in and say, this is what you can and can't say or show. Once it became considered art and protected by the First Amendment, that's when you started seeing horror kind of really take shape around the time that Psycho came out.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, cannibalism as a theme in films disappeared for essentially the 30 years while the Hays Code was active, but it came back with a ferocity. In 1963, the first splatter film came on the scene, Blood Feast. The protagonist is a caretaker who kills women and uses their blood and body parts to eat, as well as use ritualistically to awaken a goddess. When you gotta wake up the goddess and you just fucking...
Yeah, that bitch is sleepy. You gotta really impress her.
How many bleeding maidens have you brought to me today?
That's not enough to awaken me from my slumber. Come back when you have more.
I do not put my slippers on for less than 10.
Yeah, of course it makes sense.
A bloody, shocking, and violent exploitation film. People loved it, and the door came flying open for the 1970s cannibal boom. Through the 1970s and 80s, Italian and French filmmakers would start making exploitation films about tribes in South America, Asia, and Africa. These pieces were incredibly racist and depicted sexual violence, real-life animal cruelty, as in they actually killed the animal for the scene.
That's fucked up.
Uh-huh. It sure is. As well as just general brutality and violence. Man from the Deep River, a 1972 film directed by Umberto Lenzi, follows the adventures of a journalist named John Bradley. John travels to the Thai rainforest, and he's pretty quickly held hostage by a group of natives. Of course, he's subjected to all sorts of awful shit and is ritualistically tortured. Although Lenzi also created the super famous genre-defining Cannibal Ferox, Man from the Deep was the first film during the cannibal boom to see commercial success. This inspired many more to start creating their own films, and shit, it just got grosser and grosser. I guess here is where I could use an appropriate use of the term edgelord. 1980s Cannibal Holocaust, directed by Ruggero Deodato. I don't know how the fuck to say that guy's name. I am so sorry. It's just awful. Cannibal Holocaust is basically a found footage documentary, and a lot of people say it's one of the first found footage horror movies. It's about this group of dipshit asshole American journalists that go missing while they're out on the Amazon on an assignment trying to document these cannibalistic groups. This rescue team is sent in to find them because they never come back, and they do find them. They find this throne that's basically made of like their bones and skulls and shit and like their old video. It's very convenient.
It's all just set
discovered.
up
Like, it's
for
all
'em.
just, yeah.
Here's all the evidence you need.
Here it is. Here's what happened. So, of course, they take the film, they develop it, and they take it back to their professor, Professor Harold Monroe. He watches it, and we, the viewer, watch it as well. You see how the crew is doing all sorts of fucked up shit to antagonize the natives. Like, there's this one scene where they're herding them all into this straw hut, and then they just light it on fire and block all the exits. It's really fucked up.
Oh, God.
Yeah. You see that the crew was killed by the natives after they did a number of awful acts of violence, all in the name of getting more exciting footage, too.
So they kind of deserved it.
Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely.
Sound like a bunch of assholes.
Yeah. They were raping and murdering a woman.
Oh, God.
Which is an especially graphic scene. Her body is discovered where she's been impaled through her crotch. The spear is coming out through her mouth. Like some Vlad the Impaler shit. Yeah. The camera crew is eventually captured and brutally murdered in a 6-minute no cutaway sequence where you see some pretty graphic violence. A man has his dick chopped off. Earlier in the movie, a woman is raped by a massive wooden dildo.
You just said that.
No, this is a different rape.
Oh, it's a different one?
Yeah, it's a different one.
Oh, I thought it was the same thing.
No, a different woman is raped by a massive wooden dildo. They have like this huge, it's the guy's holding it with 2 hands like this.
Oh, my God.
Like it's huge and it's tapered, so he's like forcing it's
Oh,
awful.
God.
And you see it like with blood all over it
Who
and
wants
shit.
to watch that?
No, and then they mutilate her vagina as part of a punishment for cheating on her boyfriend, and then she's beaten to death. All of this is just there. They're just filming it. It's not even like cinematically done. It's really gross and awful. And that's to say nothing of all the gun violence and your regular slash and hack shit. It's a really violent movie.
Oh my God.
Having seen all this, Monroe, the professor in the movie, convinces the broadcasting station not to air it. They burn the footage and it's never seen again. Cannibal Holocaust is one of the most well-known and celebrated cannibal boom films, not because it's a great piece of cinema, but because of all the controversy when it came out. The director was actually arrested shortly after its release. People thought he'd convinced them to watch a snuff film.
Yeah, I could imagine. That sounds awful.
People were really disturbed and convinced it was real. All of the actors were unknown names. They didn't do any media promos or anything like that. So nobody saw these people after the movie came out. So it was super easy for the public to believe it was a film showing actual footage. And for all they knew, the camera crew was actually dead.
Oh my God.
So people talk about how the Blair Witch did such a great job.
God, the Blair Witch was the worst fucking movie.
Well, but with the marketing, though.
Oh.
I remember my mom was like, I think it's just in such poor taste that they're going to be showing footage of those poor kids. And that, you know what I mean? Like, there were people who actually thought that the Blair Witch Project was real.
Like a real found footage. Oh my God.
Same with Cannibal Holocaust, but 30 years before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Except Blair Witch was dumb.
Yeah.
Blair
Witch
this just sounds gross and violent and overly sexual, and I'm glad I never watched it. But
it's rough.
I would have been one of those people who were deeply disturbed. Maybe not convinced it was real, but definitely deeply disturbed.
People hadn't seen special effects like that either. So, they saw these graphic and brutal death scenes, and they were like, how do you do that without actually doing
it?
Yeah. So all this hype and speculation turned into an arrest made 10 days after Cannibal Holocaust's premiere. Police booked the director on obscenity charges, but by the time he had a court date, they had him for murder as well. The director had to explain to the court how the film's special effects worked. He also provided proof of the actors being alive because they was like, look, they're here. Ta-da! Like magic. They're not dead
I
at
didn't
all.
kill him.
Yeah. Of course, the court dropped all the charges, but ultimately the film would be banned for other reasons.
Because it was fucking gross, apparently.
Well, it is gross, and we didn't even get into the most disturbing part about it, the animal cruelty. 7 animals are killed on screen.
Ew.
Like actual for real, for real. I've watched them all. I saw the uncut version of this movie years before there was an option to see a version that didn't have these scenes. It's awful. There's a monkey that has its head cut off. There's a turtle that's decapitated, which is sorry, it's not a turtle. It's a tortoise. It's a fucking, it's old.
Aww.
It's really fucked up.
Like a big sea turtle.
Yeah, and they do it with, it's not a quick thing. It's really graphic and terrible. There's a pig that gets kicked and then shot. There's a tarantula, spider, and a snake, both that get cut in half with the machete, which I know, ooh, spiders, but it's a creature that was in the Amazon minding its own fucking business until a film crew came and decided to hack it up. Come on. Now, if you get the Blu-ray, there is a cut where all the animal cruelty and murder has been cut out, which adds up to about 6 minutes. It's the only thing the director says he regrets from the film's production, which, that's nice to say, but what about the horrible ways it was reported that he treated his actors during the filming process, or the deplorable ways his unpaid native extras were depicted? But, I digress. There are two far more glaring issues with the genre throughout the 1900s: racism and misogyny. We're going to focus on the racism issue here today. Most of these films took place in South America, Asia, Africa, focusing on the indigenous groups in the regions. Natives are depicted as these savage, uncivilized, and violent people. With the exception of Cannibal Holocaust, it's rarely ever the white people doing the savage evil shit. It's always the natives ripping people apart with their bare teeth or roasting someone alive on a spit rotisserie. Basically, anyone who's a native or living in a tribe, or really anyone outside of Europe and America, is some violent, unrelenting cannibal. The nice white people of the film are always the victims that get torn limb from limb.
Well, those poor white people, I'm sure they didn't do anything.
I'm sure.
And just over there, out of their territory, minding their own business.
Just colonizing, y'all. What's the problem?
Don't mind us.
They did a lot of damage to the public perceptions of indigenous groups in the West. And that thinking has a tendency to get its claws into culture and hold tight. And even though, as we're talking about it earlier, no one's practiced ritualistic cannibalism in years, these films, when you watch them today, are super cringy and how horribly racist they are. Thankfully, horror has evolved, even though Eli Roth in 2015 tried to bring us back with his dumbass exploitation film, The Green Inferno, which is indeed a racist mess of gore porn. I don't know how you feel about Eli Roth, but I'm not the biggest.
I don't know that I have any strong feelings for or against him. I didn't think I watched Green Inferno, so I'm not really sure.
It's like a love letter to Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh. Okay.
He just likes shock for the sake of it. A lot of times I feel like I don't mind shocking films, but it better be for a reason and not just for the sake of being gross. I just don't.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I can get into some gore porn every now and again.
Sure, but that's his entire deal. At a point, I'm like, all right, what else have you got?
I don't like watching stuff with a bunch of racist undertones, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I know it still exists and it's all over the freaking place, but I don't understand it at all. What makes y'all feel like you are so much fucking better than anybody else?
It's bizarre.
It is. Oh my God. I don't know.
Yeah.
Delusions of goddamn grandeur, apparently. It's ridiculous. I have trouble wrapping my mind around it.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
That shit's dying out, hopefully.
Yeah,
soon.
hopefully. Well, speaking of more modern times, Silence of the Lambs really ushered in a new cannibal motif, introducing the intelligent, well-mannered people eater Dr. Hannibal Lecter, who likes his kidneys with some fava beans and a cool Chianti.
Nice.
He represented this more insidious, calculated villain who would cook these 5-star meals out of his victims. It was an oddly sophisticated way to represent cannibalism, but it used it as a plot device instead of just a gross out gag. And no one had really done that before. Usually it was just to freak people out.
Yeah.
By the way, did you like Silence of the Lambs?
I did like Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
And Hannibal.
It was good. I liked Hannibal a lot. I haven't seen all of I guess there's a whole canon. There's 6 movies now that you can see, but I've only really ever seen Hannibal and Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, those are the only two.
Yeah. Hannibal is the one where at the end that he's eating the dude's brains, and the guy's eating his own brains. Isn't that the thing?
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Cut out a part of the guy's brains, but he was still alive.
So he fed them to him.
Yeah, he's sitting there eating part. Oh, it's so nasty and fucked up. Yeah, it's super fucked up. Have you ever seen Raw?
So you said something about you watching it the other day, and so I looked it up, and James says that I watched it. So I watched the trailer to see if I could spark some memories, and I just don't fucking remember it.
Really?
He says we watched it. Apparently, I didn't like it very much because it didn't make an impression on me. After watching the trailer, a couple scenes looked familiar, but for the most part, not really. I must have fallen asleep. He watched it. I fell asleep.
Movie narcolepsy.
That's probably what happened.
Well, I watched it, and it's an interesting example of a female leading a cannibal horror film. That's not really something you see a lot. Usually, it's men, and if you see any women in the movie, they're being raped
or eaten,
or both.
Because women get the best of it.
Always. Protagonist Justine experiences a slow descent into cannibalism after a lifetime of being a vegetarian. She goes to vet school, and her classmates have this rush week where they're doing really they kidnap the kids out of their beds and fucking make them drink, and then they're making them do all this hazing shit. They force her to eat a raw rabbit liver.
Yeah,
it's really gross. So it's an allegory, I love a good allegory about discovering your sexuality and having agency for the first time, because her mom is super overbearing. You get a sense that she's come from this really sheltered kind of environment. It has plenty of moments that'll make you squirm, and the ending is pretty wild. I don't want to spoil it for anyone because it was an interesting little revelation there. There's this one scene where she's nibbling on a finger. It's slow. Like she's discovering that she likes raw people meat. It's a very quiet scene, and I think that's why it's so disturbing. They don't like zoom in and make it gross. They're just kind of like, here she is in the kitchen, and it's just kind of one angle. It's like oddly one of the most fucked up moments in the movie because it's so uneventful, but it's so disgusting. The way she's just nibbling on this severed finger. Ugh. Anyway.
Well, I was told I watched it, but I don't remember.
You don't remember? Man, you should watch it again and refresh your memory. Try to stay awake.
Try to stay awake.
Yeah. So if anyone's seen it, hit us up in the DMs. I would love to talk to you about it. There's plenty of foreign horror films that explore the subject of cannibalism too, like 2004's Dumplings. Have you ever seen that one?
I have not.
Oh boy, it's a fun one. A film from Hong Kong about a trashy abortion doctor whose famous dumplings help women defy aging thanks to a secret ingredient. Can you guess what it is?
Fetuses.
That's right. Tell her what she wants.
Stem cells.
So she travels the country making meals out of late-term abortions to stay young. So we're talking like 5 months.
The abortion doctor was a female?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh my God, you misogynist.
I know. I just assume it's a dude. You didn't specify.
She's a female doctor. She travels the country making meals out of late-term abortions to stay young. And she sells her dumplings to others who share her obsession with never-ending vitality. I actually really enjoyed the movie. It had several stomach-churning and graphic moments involving fetuses. So, be careful if you're sensitive to that type of imagery. It's not super gratuitous, but there are moments where you see what is absolutely a dead baby, and they're not trying to, cover up that it's a dead baby. It just is.
Gross.
Yeah. There's also one coming out this month, November 23rd, Bones and All. Have you heard of this?
No.
Well, I suppose we'll see it, according to MGM.
Love blossoms between a young woman on the margins of society and a disenfranchised drifter as they embark on a 3,000-mile odyssey through the backroads of America. However, despite their best efforts, all roads lead back to their terrifying pasts and a final stand that will determine whether their love can survive their differences.
Apparently, it's a cannibal movie. I don't know.
And a love story.
So I guess they're fucking twilighting up cannibalism.
Oh, they might be.
Yeah.
Well, throw some glitter on it and call it a day.
Throw some glitter on it. Why not?
Hello, twisted humans. Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cults, or haunting? Then this is the podcast for you. We're bringing the most intense stories that'll keep you up at night. He was found guilty of voluntary manslaughter and felonious assault, but he was only sentenced to 5 months of probation, and this would be the last time that anyone ever saw him. There are allegedly 2 women who also drowned in the first-class pool. Was this the same glowing green that they'd seen in the darkness the night before? He had refused to sit near the wagon cloth because of stains on it, which were most likely blood. Join us every Tuesday for a glass of wine or sangria and a dose of true crime. I'm Alicia. And I'm Sierra. And this is Twisted and Uncorked.
We're back! There are several stories of stranded explorers resorting to cannibalism in a desperate bid to survive. One of the most famous examples is Franklin's Lost Expedition in 1845. Do you know about this one?
Probably. James is real into failed expeditions.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, so I've watched and learnt about quite a bit of it over the years.
No shit. I didn't know that about him. It's a random interest. I like that. I like that a lot.
Failed expeditions.
The crew was comprised of some of the most accomplished mariners of of the day, and they were looking to map out the Northwest Passage from Europe to Asia. Explorers from ships, the HMS Erebus and
Erebus.
the HMS Erebus. And the HMS Terror. Who the fuck names their ship Terror?
I don't know.
That would scare me. I'd be like, I don't want it.
I don't want it.
It sounds scary. Well, they attempted to trek 1,000 miles along the Black River looking for the Hudson Bay Trading Post. Their efforts were futile. No one really knows why they abandoned all of the provisions they had aboard the ships, but they did. And many of the men who died of starvation. Like, I don't know, like 1,000 miles on foot? Why didn't you bring some shit?
They were on ships.
No, they left the ships.
Oh.
They walked 1,000 miles along a river. They went there on their ships.
Oh, because they were
got
mariners.
off the
Okay.
ships.
See, I just get all kinds of confused all the damn
they're
time.
explorers, but they went there on the ships and they
Okay.
got off the ships
Okay.
and they went to walk 1,000 miles.
Okay.
Maybe I worded it wrong. That's okay.
Okay.
They had left all of their food aboard the ships. No one knows why, and many of the men who died of starvation. In 1854, whispers of cannibalism arose. Local Inuits had found piles of human bones cracked in half along the route of the explorers. In the 1980s and 1990s, researchers finally found the crew's remains on King William Island. Knife marks crudely cut the bones, confirming the rumors in the eyes of the experts. So they could see like places where it looked like a blade had
Scraped the bone.
Yeah, when you're flaying muscle and
Gross.
shit. Yeah. For the foreseeable future, researchers analyzed and discovered more of the explorers' remains. Scientists found cut marks on many of the bones, signs of breakage and marrow extraction, as well as evidence of the bones being boiled or heated.
Okay.
But that's how you get the marrow out.
Yeah, I reckon.
According to anthropologists, survival cannibalism happens in phases. So first, people cut flesh from bones, and you focus on the big muscle groups. You might want to like eat someone's calf muscle or like their thigh.
Yeah, get the meaty shit.
Yeah. When things get more desperate, they start to snap the bones to get at the fat-rich marrow inside.
Gross.
This is called end-stage cannibalism, and it's usually part of the final efforts to survive. So when you're snapping bones open and sucking the marrow out, you're
Slurping that shit out.
you're about to die.
Yeah.
You're dying very soon. Is that what happened to the doomed Franklin expedition?
Maybe.
You know, I mean, by this point, too, it was an unspoken fact of life. If you had a shipwreck,
You was getting eaten. Or you were eating somebody.
that could be what happens, you know? Drawing lots, or as we refer to it as straws, yeah, was how dinner was chosen.
Oh, God.
Yes. So Short Straw McGee would be roasted, and he with the longest straw won the lottery to murder their pal.
Oh,
so
God.
I guess that keeps it fair.
I wouldn't want the long one or the short one.
Oh my God, I would just be like, give me, like, I always want the medium straw.
Yeah.
I just get to sit here and be sad.
Yep. On the sidelines.
Yeah. In most cases, anything even remotely resembling food was eaten first. This makes me sad, but dogs, they would eat their doggies, their candles, leather, shoes, blankets.
God, could you imagine trying to eat a blanket?
I mean, I would probably try to eat a blanket before you if we were like stranded on the sea. I'd be like, yeah, give me that blanket.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
You know what I mean?
know.
Like, I would try. But yeah, so they would consume all of that before people. And then, you know, before long, you run out of blankets and candles and, you know, your best friend is the burger of the day. It's like Looney Tunes. The character is hungry and all of a sudden Elmer Fudd looks like a porterhouse steak, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a terrible thought, but what else are you going to do?
Who knows?
According to the New York Times, in 1884, 4 men on a yacht named the Mignonette were sailing from England to Australia. When the yacht sank into the Atlantic, the crew became estranged on a lifeboat in open water. They remained adrift for more than 2 months. They exhausted the meat of a sea turtle that they'd captured, luckily. Jesus. One of the men, a sailor named Richard Parker, drank seawater out of his desperate thirst, which, as you know, will make you
Even more thirsty.
and very thirsty and crazy.
Yeah.
As his health declined, his shipmates opted to kill him and eat him rather than wait for the young man to die naturally. They were just kind of like, fuck it.
Well, he's done with.
Yeah. In an excruciating twist of irony, a sailor named Richard Parker was eaten by his fellow castaways after they had eaten a tortoise in an 1838 Edgar Allan Poe short story, The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym. Isn't that weird? The same name and everything. Like, it basically happened.
Oh, shit.
Isn't that bizarre?
That is kind of bizarre.
So strange. But even as recently as 1972, a group of 16 people, including members of a Uruguayan rugby team, faced a similar situation when a plane crash stranded them in the Andes Mountains in Chile. The flight was carrying 45 passengers and crew, including 19 members of the Old Christians Club rugby union team, along with their families, supporters, and friends. During their 70 days in the mountains, the surviving members of the team ate the flesh of others who died in the plane crash.
I've heard that story before. I didn't realize they were like their friends and family and shit. Ooh.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving.
So we're going to get into some true crime. So if you don't want to hear about some really nasty blood and gut eating, then we suggest you check out right now. Some murderers, such as Albert Fish, Jeffrey Dahmer, are known for having devoured their victims after killing them. Other individuals, such as artist Rick Gibson and journalist William Seabrook, have legally consumed human flesh out of curiosity or just to attract attention to themselves. Yay!
That's gross.
Isn't it? On July 23rd, 1988, provocative sculptor and performance artist Rick Gibson ate the flesh of another person in public.
What?
Oh, yeah. Well, England doesn't have any specific laws against cannibalism. It was completely legal for him to eat a tray of donated human tonsils.
That sounds so gross. Why would you pick tonsils?
I guess because people had them removed so they could donate them.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Like, it was probably the easiest. No, man, come
That's
on.
so nasty.
You know?
Were they cooked?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I could not find specifics on the tonsils. He just ate a tray of them. I'm assuming they were raw. I'm assuming they were just some regular ass tonsils.
Oh, God.
You know?
Okay.
1 year later, on April 15th, 1989, he publicly ate a slice of human testicle.
Gross.
Again, in public in London.
Raw human testicle?
I'm assuming.
Okay.
When he tried to eat another slice of human testicle at a different place in Vancouver on July 14th, 1989, the Vancouver police confiscated the testicle hors d'oeuvre. They said, no, sir. No.
You give me them balls.
This is Vancouver.
Canada don't like that shit.
Canada don't play that. However, the charges were dropped, and he finally got a chance to eat the piece of balls on the steps of the Vancouver courthouse on September 22nd, 1989. He got
a mouthful of testicles in
mouthful
Canada.
of balls. He was determined. He was like, fucking try to stop me, bitches.
I'll put these testicles in my mouth whether you want me to or not.
Dare me, bro. Come at me. William Seabrook, an occultist, journalist, and writer, traveled to Western Africa in the 1920s. He alleged to have come across a tribe who took part in consuming human meat. He wrote about his experiences in his novel Jungle Ways. However, Seabrook would later admit the tribe did not allow him to take part in ritualistic cannibalism. They were like, you don't even go here.
We don't know you.
You don't sit here. Okay. So he got some human flesh from a hospital and then he cooked it himself.
Okay.
Yeah. If you really want to do something right, just do it yourself, man.
Right.
Know? He probably got to put all kinds of seasoning on it too that like they weren't doing at the tribe. Like he got to he worked it out.
Put some garlic and some Italian seasonings on it.
We're going to leave you today with the most graphic and dark story in our journey through cannibalism. Now, this particular case is a wild one. You may have heard of it. It's been covered a lot. Although the perpetrator of this crime had a life of extreme violence and had committed several violent acts before this final atrocious act that she is very well known for. We're going to focus today on the story of John Price, whose murder would make worldwide headlines. John Charles Thomas Price, known as Pricey to his friends, was born on April 4th, 1955. The oldest of 6 children, John had a practical and industrious education. When he left school at the age of 14, he could barely read or write. However, he was a hard worker with amazing work ethic. He worked in heavy machinery, earth-moving equipment, trucking, and mining. He wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. This would become a career as an adult where he would carve a secure and happy life for a time. John married his wife, Colleen, and they had 3 children together, a son and 2 daughters. After 15 years of marriage, Colleen and John called it quits. but they stayed close friends and successful co-parents. From everything I can see, John was a very considerate father, and he put his children before anything else. While his 2-year-old daughter had remained with his former wife, the 2 older children lived with him. John met Catherine at a local pub, and the two started dating in 1993. The romance was passionate and wild at first, with Kathy and John being inseparable. John described their relationship as
a bunch of roses.
However, as passionate beginnings go, it was a volatile relationship, and Kathy became deeply paranoid that John was cheating on her. They split up and got back together over and over again, much to everyone's chagrin. Kathy would fight with John frequently over his refusal to marry her. He said it was because he wanted his house to go to his children, not his wife, in the event of his death, which I don't know how things go in Australia, but surely that's something you can outline in a will?
I would imagine so, but maybe not.
I don't know. If you're an Aussie, can you clear that up for us? creepytapas@gmail.com. Genuinely interested. Anyway, Catherine's pattern of violence continued, and her unstable and aggressive nature started alienating John from his friends. No one really wanted to be around this bitch. Like, she was just insufferable. John goes from being super popular to nobody wants to be around. So she was really and truly the worst thing for him. And it's super sad because I feel like there was some part of John that knew it. We don't talk about men being abused in relationships enough, but it happens. And I bet John was fucking bullied daily by Catherine. Just that constant, like, oh, you're cheating on me. Just that alone is.
Yeah, that shit's hard to live with.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that I had to deal with your fucking insecurities for the rest of my life.
Right.
In the aftermath of one particular argument, Catherine videotaped items he had stolen from work and sent the tape to his boss. Now, the things that John had stolen were out-of-date medical kits, and he'd actually taken them out of the company's dumpster.
So they were in the garbage.
They were thrown out. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they still consider it stealing in a company, but I think it's one of those things that's just kind of silly because, like, if you were throwing it in the dump.
Yeah, why couldn't somebody who needed it have it?
Right. And a lot of those medical kits.
That's just fucking wasteful.
Right. And they have, like, Band-Aids and shit. Like, the whole reason they have to throw it out is because, like, the fucking Advil or whatever in there expired. I don't know. But anyway, she took a videotape, and she sent it to his boss. So he was fired from this job that he'd held for 17 years.
That's fucked up.
That same day, he kicked her out of his house.
I would have kicked her ass out, too.
Oh, my God, right? Well, she went to her own house, and news of what she'd done spread through the town really quickly. And I mean, if John had anyone left in his life at this point, they were gone now. Like, she was just completely dismantling.
The news of what spread? Oh, that he lost his job?
Yeah. Well, and that, like, he'd stolen. I imagine people didn't have all the context.
He lost his job for thievery.
Right.
Okay, so it was just rumors.
Yeah.
I got you.
So John desperately wanted to end the relationship with Catherine for good this time, but he was worried that Catherine might start to target his kids if he ended it. On February 27th, 2000, a physical fight broke out between the couple, and Catherine grabbed a knife and fatally went after John. Terrified, John kicked Catherine out of his house once and for all, telling his coworkers he genuinely feared for his life and for the lives of his kids. He reassured everyone this would definitely be the last time that she would ever be welcome back. The next day, John confided to his coworkers,
"Guys, I think I'm a dead man."
His boss had offered John to stay at his house that night, but John refused. On February 29th, 2000, John stopped at the Scone Magistrates Court on his way to work and took out a restraining order in an attempt to keep Catherine away from himself and his children. While John did this, Catherine was out treating herself to some new black lingerie and had videotaped all of her children while making really odd, slightly dark comments. That afternoon, John told his coworkers,
"If I don't come in tomorrow, it's because Kathy killed me."
Despite their pleas that John should not go home, he told them,
"I'm afraid she is going to kill my kids if I don't."
When John got home that evening, he discovered that Catherine wasn't there, but neither were the kids. There was a note saying she'd sent the children away for a sleepover at a friend's house. John left to hang out and have a few drinks with some neighbors before heading back home to bed at 11 p.m. Sometime after John had gone to bed, Catherine let herself into his house while he was sleeping. She fucking super casually watched some TV, took a shower. Then she woke John up for some sex. John then fell back asleep, like you do. I don't know why. I mean, I guess he was drinking.
I mean, I don't know that he was probably like half drunk and half asleep, and she just like helped herself.
And honestly too, like now that I say it out loud, this is all according to her.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, never really know.
You don't really know. The next morning, March 1st, 2000, a neighbor noticed John's car had not yet left the driveway. When John didn't show up to work, his boss sent a coworker to see what the hell was going on. So at this point, the neighbor and the coworker had both tried knocking on John's bedroom window to wake him, but after seeing blood on the door, they called the police in to do a welfare check. When Constable Scott Matthews and Sergeant Graham Furlonger arrived, they never could have expected to walk into one of the grisliest crime scenes of their careers, or really the nation's history. Warning, this gets pretty grisly, so listener beware. On an episode of Crimes That Shook the Nation, Sergeant Furlonger explains,
As we went in, I saw straight ahead what I thought was a curtain. There was something hanging that was blocking my entry into the house.
Constable Matthews elaborated,
I thought it looked like some sort of blanket or some sort of covering that had been placed up on the archway.
It was only when he reached out to push the object aside and felt something cold that Constable Matthews realized his arm was covered in blood.
I realized then that it was in fact a human pelt, the skin minus the head, a full skin just hanging from the top of the doorframe.
As they walked down the hallway and into the heart of the home, working hard to keep calm as they moved past the human flesh curtain,
there was blood everywhere.
Recalls Furlonger.
A line of blood down the hallway and out the kitchen door. And there was a pot on the stove. I think I might have even said to Scotty, I'll give you one guess where the head is.
Horrifyingly, the sergeant was right. Along with an array of vegetables, the head of John Price was sitting cooked atop his kitchen stove. The table had 2 places set, each with a plate full of vegetables and cooked human flesh, with a note next to each plate. One note featured the name of John Price's son, the other of his youngest daughter. When police reached the bedroom, they discovered a drugged Catherine, otherwise unharmed, asleep on the bed. She'd taken an overdose of pills but was still alive and made a full recovery in the hospital, where she was then transferred to a psychiatric ward. It would later be discovered Catherine had stabbed John with a butcher's knife while he was asleep after they had sex. According to the blood evidence, he woke up during the attack and tried to turn the light on. John fumbled with the light but managed to escape the bedroom as Catherine chased him throughout the house. John managed to open the front door and get outside, but either stumbled or was dragged back to the hallway, where he would then bleed to death. So what did Catherine do? She was busy going into Aberdeen and withdrawing $1,000 from John's bank account. Just casual.
I think it should be mentioned by the skin pelt that Catherine was a butcher. There was a whole lot of this that all went along with her being a butcher. Do you talk about that later?
No, because fuck her. I just wanted to talk about John. I don't want to talk about her. There's
well, yeah, but
about her.
most people can't. Most people can't skin a human.
Yeah, no, yes, okay, here we go. Catherine was a butcher. She was a really good butcher. Yeah, so I guess that's why she was able to do what she did. John's autopsy revealed that he had been stabbed at least 37 times in the front and back of his body. So many of the wounds hit vital organs. She really must have fucking went for it.
No shit. It takes a lot of fucking energy to stab somebody 37 times and then go through all the trouble of skinning them, cutting them up, and cooking them.
Yeah, you really can't say that you disassociated
for that long. Like I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, that's like a lot of just calculated
moves. And then try to feed him to his kids.
Oh gosh. Oh god, yeah. Ugh. And like the things that she does, like I'd encourage you, if you're listening to this and you've never heard of Catherine Knight, go look her up. There's some other podcasters that have covered just like her and like her life. She's got a crazy fucking story.
Yeah, she had a really fucked up life.
Super fun. And like you can feel bad for baby Catherine, but adult Catherine
made her choices.
Yeah, she made these choices. Look, stabbing somebody 37 times.
That takes a lot of effort
and time and strength to get through to those vital organs. Like,
well, she was probably pretty. I mean, she was a butcher.
Yeah, she was probably pretty strong. But I'm just saying, you've got to like
throwing around animal carcasses.
Like, if I was told that I had to, like, I don't know, punch you, right? Like, you have to punch her. I would do I don't think I could do it full force, but like when she was stabbing him, like there's no love there. Like she fucking
hated him.
Right. Like that's like some fucking hate shit.
In that moment, she fucking hated him.
And who knows why. Like there really isn't, just because crazy.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
So, several hours after John had died, Catherine flayed his body and hung the skin from a meat hook in the door frame in the living room, which is, what the police had first seen when they walked in. She then decapitated him and cooked parts of his body. She served up the meat with baked potato. This sounds like a fucking cooking show. She then served the meat with baked potato, pumpkin, zucchini, cabbage, yellow squash, and gravy.
Sounds like a Thanksgiving dinner.
In 2 settings at the dinner table. So the notes were actually place cards. I don't know if I was very clear about that
place
earlier,
settings.
but they were place settings. Yeah. So she was 100% preparing to serve his body parts to his children.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, it's so gross and so very, very personal and incredibly premeditated at this point.
Right?
Well, a third meal was prepared and thrown on the back lawn for reasons unknown. But it is speculated that Catherine had tried to eat it, but just couldn't. John's head was found in a pot with vegetables. The pot was still warm, estimated to be at around 40 to 50 degrees Celsius, indicating that the cooking had taken place in the early morning hours.
She made a stew.
She did. Sometime later, Catherine arranged John's body with the left arm draped over an empty 2-liter soft drink bottle with the legs crossed. This was claimed in court to be an act of defilement, demonstrating Catherine's contempt for John. She had left a handwritten note on top of a picture of John. It was stained with blood and covered with small pieces of skin. The note read, she's kind of an idiot, so she can't like fucking write things.
Hers dumb.
Hers just a little stupid. So the note said, "Time got you back, Jonathan, for raping my daughter. You too, Beck, for Ross, for Little John. Now play with Little John's dick, John Price."
Yeah, none of that. I don't.
No, nobody. The accusations in the note about raping her daughter, by the way, are completely groundless. Like, no, they're not. Nobody knows what the fuck.
Or wouldn't it be his daughter?
I think she did have kids, pal.
Did she?
I'm pretty sure she did. I didn't deep dive her because I wanted to focus on
him.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe she did. Hell, I don't know.
The judge at Catherine's murder trial, the Honorable Barry O'Keefe, has since been quoted saying,
"I've never before or since seen something of the horrific nature of Catherine Mary Knight's case."
He noted her lack of remorse and the continued threat she posed to society as a reason to give her life without parole, which was the first time anyone had ever passed down that sentence in Australian history to a woman. I guess she was the first lady to get life without parole. Usually,
sounds like she fucking needed it.
She did fucking need it, absolutely.
Crazy bitch doesn't need to get out.
In case you're wondering where she is today, she has, in my opinion, a life she does not really deserve. Catherine is serving out her life at Silverwater Women's Correctional. She's 66 now and rocking more of a Dorothea Puente look. Fellow inmates call her the Nana, which totally undermines the degree of disgusting violence that she inflicted on an entire fucking family.
Yeah, no shit.
According to James Phelps, author of Green is the New Black,
Catherine spends her time knitting, painting, and helping other incarcerated women sort out their disputes. She rarely has a phone call or a visit from a loved one and has reportedly found religion.
So there you have that. Yeah.
Good for her. She found religion.
Yeah, like BFD.
Right?
Yeah, the fact she's like hanging out and like having a nice day, just something about that really irritates me. Like, I don't want her to hang out and have a nice day. She's awful. She's awful.
Well,
she has friends. Ew.
I mean, the other criminals,
I mean,
incarcerated women.
Yeah, but still.
I mean, she is serving her sentence. She has accepted her punishment.
Yeah.
Not saying that she's a good person, but I mean, I don't know. I have this like romantic idea that everybody can change. Everybody can change. Sure, you killed a dude and tried to serve him to his kids, but maybe you're better now.
I mean,
maybe you're a better person now.
Maybe prison has maybe
that's the place you need to be.
Yeah, maybe it shifted her perspectives a little bit.
Well, she can't be jealous now because she can't have a man.
Can't do it.
I mean,
can't be done.
That's true. I don't know.
No more men's.
No more men's.
Well, that's Cannibals, guys.
Yay, cannibals.
We hope
Yummy.
that,
Happy Thanksgiving,
Happy
cannibals.
Thanksgiving. Yeah. Well, next week is actually our Thanksgiving episode.
Oh, yeah,
For
close
real,
enough,
for real.
though.
Close enough. We're going to be talking about super grim pilgrims.
The horrors of pilgrims.
The horror. Truth's giving, y'all. We're gonna crack that big old nut, and we're also gonna talk about some wicked, awesome horror movies like Thanksgiving.
Cannibals will be back next week, too.
Oh my God, yes. There is like a surprise cameo from Cannibals again.
Ooh.
Is not expecting.
Wild pilgrims.
So if you love us and you want to keep in touch, Jordan and I are super active on our Instagram page. Jump on there at Creepy Tapas. We post memes, horror news, fun stuff, episode snippets, and just general debauchery.
Random shit.
Get on there, say hi to us. Twitter is a firestorm of bullshit nowadays. We're on there a little bit, but not as much. And if you really want to send us an email, we would love to hear your creepy stories, true crime, ghost encounters, what you got, my friends. We want to hear it.
Yeah, we do.
creepytapas@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, reviews, show us some love.
Please and thank you.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks for listening. Keeping it creepy.
Appreciate y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
If you want to keep up on things, you can hit us up on all social media.
All of them.
At
Creepy Tapas.
That's right. We're just Creepy Tapas.
All over the damn place.
Creepy Tapas is a free podcast, and we intend to keep it that way. But if you like what you hear and want to support us, please like, rate, and review. It helps us grow so we can keep serving our tiny tastes of terror to amazing listeners like you.
We would love to hear from you, so send us your personal stories to creepytapas@gmail.com. We are self-written and recorded with production by Freddy Cat Productions, music by Kevin MacLeod, and graphics by Panther Creek Graphics.
Darkcast Network. The light shines brightest on our indie podcasts.